Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya, Israel of the tribe of Dan of the house of Israel. In this particular presentation, brothers and sisters, we intend to sit there and to talk about a couple of things. One main thing being in part this statue thing that they got or that they have in what we call Times Square area in New York of a said black woman. But that will be later on in the presentation. There are a couple of things that we care to bring out for reference purposes. So, without any further ado, if we may, go to the share screen, go here, pull this up, if we will. Thank you for that, family. And if it can be seen, I will see it myself, and I can. Thank you for that. All righty, so we're going to get into this. We ask you to comment, to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for that, family. Brothers and sisters, I do not come on here and profess to know everything, but I come being able to be taught. As we may say, having the spirit of being corrected. Constructive criticism, if we will. Giving honor to our Maker. This presentation is brought to you by Danite Publications. The website being danitepublications.com. We can be reached at 908-587-4841. In this, we will speak on a statue that is currently in Manhattan, Times Square. Please subscribe to the channel. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, we ask you to press the number 4. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, we ask you to press the number 4. Thank you for that. Times Square is in Manhattan. It's a part of Manhattan. And Manhattan is a part of New York City. There's a Manhattan in another state, but we're talking about the one that is in New York City. New York City is a part of New York State, brothers and sisters. And this thing has gotten some people's attention. And if you look in the description, you will begin to sit there and see the kind of comments that was made by apparent black, white, male, female people, if you will. Now, while not trying to be quote unquote racial all the time, race does play a big role in a matter. We cannot deny it. Acknowledging race does not make you the legal said definition of a racist. Loving your own does not make you the matter of quote racist. Some time ago, our people were on TV and they felt it necessary to answer the question about there being black colleges. Like, isn't that kind of racist to sit there and, have a black college? But brothers and sisters, and I don't mean to be funny, when they start talking about the matter of HIV being highest in the black community, nobody says that's racist. When they start to talk about the homicide rate throughout the United States is the highest in the black community, nobody sits there and says that's racist. But when we start to talk, say, about black colleges, then somebody feels the need to come out and say, oh, that may be racist. Why would you want something just of your own? Why would you want to be known for just something that's simply, mainly you? Well, you must be racist. And that is a word that has been used and played against us as a people. And what some of our people not having the full strength as he or she could, succumb to that kind of matter and want to quote show the authorities or show quote unquote the people who want to call themselves non-minorities, look, I hate my own. See, boss, I'm not a racist. And these are things, again, that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. Recently on Facebook, I made a comment to somebody that said, we are the only people who take our time to talk about being alone. Nobody else takes pride, for the lack of a better term, in being, quote, alone. Shalom, Gina Powell. Thank you for joining on. Nobody else takes pride in saying, I don't need nobody. When you look at the TV shows that was called like divorce courts, the majority of the judges that was on it were black females. I recently seen a post where it was speaking about make your divorce smooth. We have given up on ourselves. Men have given up on women. Women have given up on men. And these are things, brothers and sisters, that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. And as it says in the book of Jeremiah in the Bible, for those who read the Bible, it says, for my people love it to be so. For us to not be united, for us to not love one another, for us not to be each other's confidants, for the lack of a better term, to not be each other's crutch if we need to be. We are the only people who go out of our own way to make sure we do less for one another. Jewish people don't do that. Italian people don't do that. And they can care less if we call them racist, because they understand family. They understand nation. They understand brother and sisterhood. But with us trying to blend in like a chameleon, not only in physicality, but in spirituality, we begin to sit there and think like them. And in order to sit there and feel accepted, hey, look at me. I hate my own too, as we just pointed out earlier. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we care to bring out for reference purposes. Please subscribe to the channel. 4 reasons why a small black business closes. The, quote, family and friends discount expectation. Number 2, the I've known you forever entitlement. The 3, price negotiators and hagglers. 4, jealousy and lack of support. Let's talk about this matter, brothers and sisters, if we will. Jealousy and a lack of support. You know, you got people who will sit there and remain ignorant of something just to say, or just to not have to say that they learned it from you. Do you know that there are people who will sit there and watch your channel on another platform just so you will not get the view on your platform? Because those who know YouTube know that the more views you get, the more your video is promoted. Do you know that there are people who will try to sit there and get things from you and do less for you as possible? And then when you acknowledge it, when you see that it's not being appreciated, then you are told perhaps, oh, well, in my own time when I can. But then we wind up having to make a meme speaking about why our businesses closes while having the adjective small about our business. I recently did a video about a matter where I sent a donation, this being last year, the situation, but I made a video this year, where I sent a donation of $1.09 on purpose. And it was sent back to me. So what I began to do was talk to women in my family who might be what you would call balling. And I asked them their opinion on that particular matter. And I was told essentially, even by people who did not know who I was talking about, you don't return a donation, oh my gosh. And then there are those who found out who I was talking about. What in particular I was talking about, well, they may have had valid, or it may have been this, it may have been that. But prior to that, you was ready to say and did say that it is tacky or rude to sit there and return a donation. Let us look up the definition of donation, brothers and sisters, because maybe we forgot what we could and should do for one another, if we will. Right? Now, let's look at this, if we will. The definition of donation is as follows: something that is given to a charity especially a sum of money. What is the meaning of donation? The making of a gift, especially to a charity or public institution. A free contribution, a gift. So the puzzling part, and I remember even going into talking about this with my little princess as she gets older, because you're not raising children, you're raising people to become adults. So because my little princess is 18, she's not going to be 18 within 2 months. Now what do? Well, I got to transform. She's becoming 19. No, you raising a little princess to become an adult. So try not to marginalize the children. Sidebar, hating on them like you just stay in your place, kid. Especially if you know yourself as Israel in the Bible, because you got kings who are rulers. So we definitely don't want to sit there and spread that form of the Willie Lynch concept of the age thing. I'm older than you. That is one of the things that being raised in the understanding of being an Israelite, that I never wanted to be one of those kind of elders. And I'm not even an elder this day. But what I never wanted to be was the only thing I could say of myself is, well, I'm older than you. That's obvious. That's obvious that you're older than me. That's I hate to have to say it, not an accomplishment. That is an honor. And you do get that honor. But it's not something that you have to tell me. But if you do decide to tell me, I do respect you enough to be your ears, but no, not to follow in your footsteps. The Bible, Ezekiel chapter 20, and there's no dishonor intended. It says in part, hearken not to the ways of your fathers. Everything our ancestors did, immediate or from before, is not necessarily correct. At the same token, you do not disrespect them. So how does that tie in to 4 reasons why a small black business closes? The jealousy matter. Why will I need to support him or her? Has he or she ever supported me? Well, one thing I know, and I know this, the people who I cite in my books, in the bibliography, did not buy my book. And I know in some cases, because some of them are deceased. Not trying to be disrespectful. May they rest in peace for those who are deceased. So again, what can we in this say about this? Who returns a donation? We just read the definition of such as a gift. And the puzzling part about that is you kept part of the donation and kept the other part to send back. If you truly felt that that donation was not from the heart, then you should have gave it all back. How can I promote your business to somebody else if you come halfway with something? I can't trust you. I can't recommend you to somebody else because obviously you don't deal 100. You deal sideways. You deal crooked. We have taken the adjectives, the descriptions, if you will, that Malcolm in a movie played by Denzel Washington. You've been hagged, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled. Because it will be tacky to request part of a donation back, don't you think? But that is something I've been asking around to people who understand themselves as Israel and those who do not. Who returns a donation? And then in returning it, you only return part of it. You don't even return all of it. Maybe you felt it was beneath you. But when I go and get a haircut, there's a big water jug for donations. When I order Uber Eats, they ask you for a tip, which is a donation, which is a gift. When I go and get my shoes shined, they expect you to give a tip. But you know what? And it's not trying to be funny. The people who run the barbershop are Hispanics in many cases. The people who do the Uber Eats are black people from Africa in many cases. And the people who do the shoe shining are usually females who are of the Hispanic lineage. It's generally El Moreno and La Morena, the black men and black women, quote unquote African American, who tried to play one another like that. And that's why I went there and stated what I stated. Rodriguez is not returning a donation to Garcia. Russo of Italy is not returning a donation to Maranzano. That's not going to happen. The people who speak about their ancestors being Auschwitz are going to flip that $1.09. But what do we as a people do? We don't even see our own light. So we don't even say, why would you send that? It's a donation. The fact that we are asking each other, and even some of the people in my family, like, why would you send just that? If you don't understand where one's heart is at, the other part that's sent is going to be trash to you too. Wisdom says, it is found of those that seek her. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of devices, is what Proverbs says. Those that seek me earnestly shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, enduring riches and righteousness. That's in Proverbs 8. Enduring riches. By rejecting a donation, you didn't realize you cut off a lot of other riches, a lot of other potential growth in that particular manner. You move funny style, and only black people do this with one another. We don't see our own light. So what does the Bible say, if you will? In Isaiah chapter 29, stupefy yourselves and be stupid. Blind yourselves and be blind. Ye that are drunken, but not with wine, that stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Most High have poured upon us the spirit of deep sleep. And the prophets and the seers in the eyes have he covered. And the writing is delivered to one that is saying, read this, I pray thee. And he says, I'm not learned. So let us not marginalize. Only thing you got to do is have a relationship with our maker and not acknowledge the writings that we're talking about, to know your ethnic background, your understanding of where you're coming from as a people, because what's good for one is not necessarily good for the other. But brothers and sisters, you can't fake love. Be 100 with your feelings. And then from that, you can sit there and perhaps see that you might need correction. But if you hide your feelings and move funny style, how does that cause growth? So, somebody once asked, do I have to buy your book in order to be your friend on Facebook? Essentially, the response is, it doesn't hurt. But no, you don't have to buy one's book for it. But what you have to understand is what a person is about and what a person is into. Understand whether or not certain kind of spirits, if you will, mix together well or not. Let me give you an example. My little princess is into animals. I'm into history. She thinks I'm into history. History is boring. I know history is not boring. So what do we do, brothers and sisters? You come to an understanding and you help each other. That's what you do. You don't say, oh, the person is just this age. That's not what you say or feel. because you never know one's potential and you have just marginalized one's growth. And then we wonder why we grow up and do business tactics like this with one another. When you have a people to be downtrodden, what do you think is going to happen? We have to break that cycle. And it's up to us to do it. Let's continue. Take heed. I wanted to share some honest insights about why many small Black businesses often face challenges in growth. Often face challenges with growth or even staying open. This isn't meant to be harsh, just real talk from experience and observation. The quote, family and friends discount expectation. Some expect special deals simply because they're family or have a close connection. While it's natural to want to support loved ones, constant requests for discounts can actually hurt a business. A business can't survive when profit is always sacrificed in the name of favors. At the end of the day, you can't tell your landlord, utility company, or vendors, I can't pay you because I gave my family member a discount. Business expenses don't stop, and neither can your pricing. The I've known you forever entitlements. So, brothers and sisters, when you find in certain cases, while certain things don't prosper, we may have to ask why. Try to find out why. Don't always per se assume it's always an outside source and not self. Let's not always say that it must be self only and not even from saying outside. Take all factors in. But the people who don't support, whatever the support may be, shows it because you can't fake love. Let's continue, family. People sometimes believe that because they've known you for 10 or 15 years, they're owed a deal. If they don't receive it, they may even discourage others from supporting your business. Sadly, loyalty often gets tested when boundaries are set, price negotiations, and hagglers. Let's continue. Some feel your prices are too high and try to talk you down. Sometimes to unreasonable levels. If your product is $49.99, they may attempt to lower it to $8.99 or even expect it for free. Undervaluing products and services makes it impossible for a small business to thrive. Jealousy and lack of support. Believe it or not, jealousy can play a role too. Some people, even those who have their own businesses or no interest in starting one, may not want to see you succeed. Let's talk about that. Why would you write a Hebrew book, Ark? Why would you try to invent the wheel, Ark? To help bring knowledge into the earth. One person on Facebook sat there and said that somebody wanted to be a friend of mine. One person talking about another person because maybe they wanted a refund for the book I wrote. But again, that's only us who come with such foolishness. That's not good. We are the only people who will return a donation after we read what a donation is, and we are the only people who think that it is okay for you to not survive and thrive. And we'll try to discourage others, as pointed out, to do business with you for one reason or the other, through one way or the other. You understand? So these are things that we care to bring out for reference purposes. Instead of cheering you on, they were told support, don't share your work or discourage others from doing business with you. And that is the truth. Separate from your enemies and take heed to your friends is what the Apocrypha teaches us. Now let's talk about this. This is recent. For the first time in U.S. history, a president fires the Librarian of Congress. While many people, black men and women alike, felt that Trump was the better way. Let's talk about something, not talking politics, if you will, all the time, but that is something that was brought to me. Oh, you're talking about politics, but we're Israelites. But you read about Potiphar in your Torah, and our Torah. We read about the king of Egypt in Exodus. We read about Artaxerxes. We read about Nebuchadnezzar. These are political leaders, brothers and sisters. How can we as Israelites read about everything from Potiphar in Genesis all the way to Artaxerxes in the book of Esther, from when Egypt was a great power to when Persia was a great power, to the timing of Darius included of that, who ruled in Egypt in Dynasty 27, correlating with the timing of the prophet Daniel? How can we sit there and ignore the political aspect of a matter? Because Israel has treated, no disrespect intended, the scriptures, the book, religious. That's why. When you read in the scriptures, and it says in the days of such and such king, it's called regnal dating, because it doesn't go by BCE years. That time frame and calculation came upon later. You understand? But at the same token, those ancient nations, including the Israelites, did what we can call regnal dating. You can look that up. So when people may say, oh, well, there's no date in the Bible, so how can it be a history book? Again, look up regnal dating. Because the Egyptian papyri and the cuneiform tablets of ancient Sumer does not have a date that we can correlate with in modern timing. So they use regnal dating, the timing of such. Regnal. Look that up when you can. So now getting back into this. For the first time in U.S. history, a president fires the Librarian of Congress. During her time, Hayden accomplished a lot. She worked to digitize millions of documents and books so anyone could access them online. She highlighted diverse voices and underrepresented communities in the library's collections. She improved the U.S. Copyright Office, making it easier for artists and creators to protect their work. She helped preserve digital materials like websites and video games so they wouldn't be lost over time. She expanded services for people with disabilities like Braille and talking books. For now, Robert Newland, the deputy librarian, will take over the job until someone new is chosen. Now, we know in this society, in some cases, when they start talking about the matter of underrepresented communities, as Israel, we may not sit there and support all of that. You understand? But once you understand how easier it is now in these days and times to sit there and get something out there, such as the YouTube, such as the Facebook Live, such as your works in your publications, whether you use BookBaby or KDP or any other platform. You want to sit there and have publication and promotion. Trump is a hater. Does he read? When he said that the people in the Continental Congress era of the 18th century took over the airports, he doesn't read. When he's too arrogant to read the material beforehand, old black women who sat there and text me that Trump was better than X, Y, and Z. Please explain this. This is who you voted for in one way or the other. And again, this is not to be focused, say, racial, brothers and sisters. But if we came from, quote, the East, which he called fishy whole countries, what do you think he thinks about our brothers on the other side of the earth, our sisters on the other side of the earth? You understand? When the other guy during the campaign said a piece of garbage is floating in the water called Puerto Rico, mi hermano, what do you think he's talking about? When you begin to hear people like him say they don't speak the language, who is he talking about, and what language do they not speak? Brothers and sisters, for those who know anything about the history of New York, in the 1990s, whom they call the mayor of New York, Rudolph Giuliani, was in the 1990s the mayor of New York. In the 80s, he made a campaign against organized crime. Giuliani dealing with Trump, you don't really hear his name like that no more, because he got in trouble dealing with Trump, and Trump was not there for him. Michael Cohen, who was one of Trump's right-hand men, had to realize, this is not going to work. I can't represent you no more in this. But we, who in many cases never met Trump, thought that he might be, quote, a good pick. Many people did not vote for the other party because the person that was running is a female. America is what you would call misogynistic. You have this tariff that this man has put to where it is affecting the farmers in their business. Oh, we got to sit there and take a hurt. What hurt like that existed during the time of Clinton, Obama, Bush Jr.? Were there farmers saying that their job is hurting? Were there people talking about, hey, I am legal, why am I being detained? During that time. Let's look back at this person right here, and not to be funny. What are you talking about that now for? Because we're talking about what's going on now. The book, the Bible that we read, when it was written for us today about what was going on then. So it's time to sit there and leave the record to be. That man that you see in that picture there was president after Obama was president for 8 years. Then he was president for 4 years. Then Biden came in. New York was happy in many cases. And then Trump became president again. Anytime this man talks about other politicians of the last 6 presidencies, he cannot talk about himself. Well, you're not supposed to sit there and talk about yourself. But you can't sit there in a debate and say, I have concepts of a medical coverage. I'm not president yet, but you was president before. So you can't even, whether we say in Israel as land back or in people who eat differently, piggyback on the works that you accomplished and build therein. If you was that great and smart and apt for the job, the 4 years that you put in there, Biden could not sit there and erase that in the 4 years he was in. And you know that those felonies that you were found guilty of, you won't have to face those charges while you're in office. But to the black women who text me about Trump winning and Trump's a better person and so forth and so on, please explain what's happening to this person right here or what happened with this person right here. Not many people are saying negative of this lady right here. Expanded services for people with disabilities. Isn't this the person who laughed at somebody's disability? No kind of respect. Chuck Schumer, correct me if I'm wrong, is Jewish. Recently, this guy Trump said that Chuck Schumer is becoming a Palestinian. And anybody who knows that Palestinians and Jewish people are not friendly per se in many cases with each other. So to the Palestinian women who voted for this guy, what then can you say? So you thought it was funny and cool and cute when he went to McDonald's and acted like he was a worker there, which was staged. When he went to Chick-fil-A or whatever that store was in Georgia, which people come to find out was staged and already planned. When you sit there and say to black men that black people can relate with you because like black men in jail for crimes, we black people can relate to you having been charged with a crime. He's saying, what about you, brother? I'm a criminal, and so are y'all N-word people criminals too. Just want to point that out. Now, I hope the lady that we showed earlier be well because the country's going down the tubes. Now, what are we looking at here? We're going to sit there and talk about a particular matter at this point in the next 3 slides, if we will. I'm going to, if we will, right? Show it as so. Right? And it should show up now. And it's not. So I am going to, gotta learn how to do this differently and better. Deal with it from this point here. Hopefully everybody is well and will be better. Thank you for that. All right. Seeing it on my screen part now. Now, as been going on in this platform, right? It has been a recent thing. You're Indian. No, I'm not. You're Chickasaw. No, I'm not. You're Choctaw. No, I'm not. I'm from the 12 tribes of Israel. That's who I'm from. and Israelites, you cannot sit there and say you are indigenous to North America, and then also say at the same token from the house of Israel, because those are two different peoples in two different places. Now let's look at some of the records of what happened with black people in history and what they stated. Frederick Douglass. I have often been told by my mother that I was born in Africa and that she was brought over in a slave ship. Harriet Jacobs. I have heard my grandmother tell her life in Africa before she was brought to America. Sojourner Truth. I am from the land of my ancestors who were taken from Africa and sold into slavery. William Wells Brown. My father was a white man, but my mother was a slave born in Africa, and I often think of her homeland. Mary Prince. I remember my mother telling me stories of our people in Africa before we were captured. Oluda Equiano. I was born in Igbo, which is in Africa. I can still recall the customs of my people. David Walker. The blood of our African ancestors runs through our veins. We must remember where we came from. As a descendant of Africans, I feel a deep connection to the continent from which my ancestors were taken. James Pennington. I learned about the rich history of my people in Africa through oral traditions passed down by my family. Rebecca Jackson. In prayer meetings, we would sing songs that reminded us of our African heritage and roots. Moses Roper. My parents were both born in Africa. They shared the tales of their homeland with me as a child. Lunsford Lane. The stories told by my elders about our origins in Africa shaped my understanding and identity. John Brown. Often think back to the tales told by those who remember their lives before coming to America from Africa. Sarah Douglas. My mother often spoke of her childhood in Africa and the beauty of her homeland. Charlotte Grimke. Charles Ball. The memories of my mother's homeland in Africa are etched deeply within me. They inspire me to fight for freedom. Jermaine Logwin. My heritage is rooted in the soil of Africa. It is a part of who I am as an individual striving for liberty. Anna Cooper. Understanding our African roots is essential for recognizing the struggles faced by Black Americans today. George Washington Carver. Though I was born here, I carry within me the legacy and spirit of those who came from Africa. Ida B. Wells. The strength and resilience found among African peoples inspire us to continue fighting against oppression. Brothers and sisters, what was the point in going into that in part? Far too often recently, it has been stated and assumed that we were not from Africa as a people, that we were, quote, already here. And that, as pointed out on this platform, that some people attempt to state that the Atlantic slave trade is told in reverse. Now, this is not to say that there were no people from the West that was taken east. We pointed that out several times. But what you're not going to do is sit there and attempt to marginalize the oppression that was brought on people that came west. That we're not going to do. Somebody is going to represent and speak this truth. Now, Things I stopped doing to gain peace in my life. And this is real talk. Arguing with people. Wasted energy on one-sided relationships. Overcommitting my time when I didn't have the energy. Accepting and excusing toxic behavior because that was more comfortable than change. Allowing dysfunctional family members to steal my joy. Trying to fix people as an act of love. Discarding my boundaries to fit uncomfortably in other people's lives. Pretending to be happy when I was hurting. This is not to get too personal or disrespectful. Our people are hurting. In the Bible, O house of Israel, it says they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people lightly by saying shalom, shalom, what ain't shalom? By saying peace, peace, and there is no peace. They have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people, saying peace, peace, where there is no peace. So when people are hurting, and if you have the ability, be one's ears. Don't sit there and act like their hurt doesn't matter. Don't sit there and act like he or she doesn't deserve healing, which is something that we spoke upon. Brothers and sisters, recently. Marlene Pinnock in 2014 was assaulted by the police. Who taught this cop to beat up a black woman? We have to change the dynamic. Silencing my voice and not naming my needs. Overthinking about my past and things I cannot change. Holding on to people I've outgrown because of the time invested. Going along to get along. Overlooking my blessings and comparing my life to someone else's. Let's look at Trump. That's what he does. His whole thing is presidents of the past, Biden this and Obama that. Why can't you stand on your own merit? You understand? Why can't you stand on your own 2 feet as a man? Why must you always sit there and talk about the people in the past before me with this and they did that? What do you do to sit there and change and fix it? Overlooking my blessings and comparing my life to someone else's. See your own light, family. Abandoning myself, my truth, and my integrity to fit in. Waiting for external validation to boost my confidence. Trying to change people who were committed to staying the same. Last year, when a brother went on my own retreat, it was peace. People do things to seek peace. So let us, as men to women, and as women are to us, let's use wisdom. Let's be supportive. Let's continue, family. daynightpublications.com. A picture of a black woman was recently put in Times Square, Manhattan. And in the description, you will see where the people talked about this. Did you know it's been stated that the original Statue of Liberty was that of a black woman given to the United States by France, and it was rejected? The comments in the video regarding this statue here shows that, for the lack of a better term, black women are not respected. One person said, "This looks like the person who skipped me in front of the line to get chicken." These are things that we're talking about. And somebody named Diane Randall wrote, "Why does this remind me of the movie King Kong? Because Sister Shaniqua, Sister Keisha, Sister Ayana, this is what they think about you." We want to point that out. Now, in Times Square, you have mascots, which is on the west side of Fifth Avenue. On the east side of that same area is Grand Central area. You don't find mascots there. You find brothers and sisters on the west side of Fifth Avenue in Midtown, Times Square, it to be kind of like for a child with all the lights and everything. The Mickey Mouse, the Spider-Man mascot, where people go and sit down and have their picture drawn and all of that. The movie theaters, the Frankfurter stands, the wax thing of the wrestler known as The Rock, where people go and take pictures next to it. That is Times Square area. Now, Grand Central, the opposite side of it, the Long Island Railroad runs there. The express buses run there. There are no mascots. So how are we looking at anything at Silly, Regal movie theater area, AMC movie theater area? Entertainment purposes kind of matter. And have comments like the people do inside the video that's in the description that talks about this. Any questions or comments, please feel free to put it in the chat. The Statue of Liberty and the Bethesda Fountain, both in New York. These are statues. Of course, in the House of Israel, we don't deal with bowing down or worshiping them for sure. Martin Luther King and the Lincoln Memorial. Both of them in Washington, D.C. John Barry and Library Lions. John Barry, during the Revolutionary War in the 18th century, was noted for being the father of the Navy within the United States, or what became the United States. Statue of him there on the right-hand side is part of the lines that they have right smack dead between Grand Central and Times Square. You're about to closer to Grand Central. That's where the library is. Show me, correct me if I'm wrong, where there's a library in Times Square. Not Chelsea, not Soho, not NoHo, and there is a place called NoHo in Manhattan. Not Dumbo in downtown Brooklyn. I'm talking about Times Square, not the Upper East Side, not the Upper West Side, not Harlem, not Washington Heights, not El Barrio, mi hermano. Show me, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think it's there, where Times Square area has a library. There are libraries in Manhattan. I have a membership, LOL, with it. Let's continue. Yeshaya, Day Night Publications, 908-587-4841. Brothers and sisters, what can we glean and ascertain from this? People were saying regarding that statue that she's dealing with an EBT card. People were saying regarding that statue that looks like the lady who pushed me out the line at Walmart, that they replaced Aunt Jemima image with Shantika. Those are some of the comments when you look at the video in the description of this by some people, male, female, black, and white alike. Recently, there was a Caucasian lady born some years after me who called a black boy who's not even 6 years old the N-word repetitively. Who taught that lady that was okay to do? When to talk about movies, Forrest Gump did not know where his father was. What's vacation, mommy? What? What's vacation where daddy went? It's when you go somewhere and you never come back. When Forrest Gump was told, coons, and they want to go to school with us, or anytime we had coons, mama just sit there and get the broom and shuffle them away. Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggers. Excuse the language. The N-word. Forrest Gump didn't ask, what's a nigga? Watch that movie. In the movie, as stupid and ignorant and so much of a buffoon that Tom Hanks playing the person known as Forrest Gump in that movie, did not ask his white brother, what is the N-word? He had to ask his mom's where his father is, but did not have to ask what the N-word was. So this lady, whatever state she was in, who sat there and called the little black boy the N-word repetitively, you out of place. And she got thousands of dollars in support. Because the same ones who support that kind of spirit are the same ones that's in the description with the video link saying that the image of the black woman as a statue in Times Square has done nothing. What is the point in her even having a statue? So sisters, stop being against brothers thinking that is the way to go. Brothers, stop being against sisters thinking that is the way to go. It is not. We hope, we pray that everybody is well and will be better. I can be reached at the number you see there, 908 908-587-4841. Again, 908-587-4841. Thank you.